I said no. Adam Xavier's voice cut through the saloon like a whip crack. Violet Lewis stood there shaking, snow melting off her threadbare coat into puddles at her feet. I don't need another hand. I need a wife. The words hung in the air between them. Henderson laughed from behind the bar. You hearing this, girl? Man's not offering you work. Violet's fingers trembled as she gripped her carpetbag tighter. Then what exactly are you offering, Mr. Xavier? Adam's eyes never left hers. Marriage. Tonight. Before the preacher closes up for the storm. Her breath caught. She'd walked into this saloon begging for any kind of work, and now this stranger was proposing. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and stay with me until the end of this story. Comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. Violet's knees almost buckled. She'd been standing in that saloon doorway for less than 5 minutes, and already her entire world had tilted sideways. You've lost your mind, she whispered, but her voice carried across the room anyway. Adam leaned back in his chair, fingers wrapped around a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched. Maybe, but I'm the only person in this town who's offering you anything at all. Henderson slapped the bar top. She can't stay here, Xavier. You know my policy. No women without a man to vouch for them, Adam finished. I'm vouching. Violet's eyes burned. She wanted to cry, to scream, to run back out into that godforsaken snow and take her chances with the cold. But her feet wouldn't move. Her father had been dead for 6 weeks. Her mother's family had turned their backs the moment the creditors came knocking. And that stagecoach driver had taken one look at her empty purse and told her to get off at the next stop, which happened to be Montezuma, Colorado. Population maybe 200, and apparently one lonely cowboy with a death wish for his own sanity. I don't know you, Violet said, and I don't know you. Adam stood up, unfolding to his full height. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dirt under his fingernails and exhaustion carved into the lines around his eyes. But I know you walked 10 miles in a blizzard to get here. Henderson told me. Said he watched you come down the mountain road, on foot. Henderson grunted. Crazy thing to do. Desperate thing, Adam corrected. He took a step toward Violet. I'm not offering you charity. I'm offering you a trade. You need a roof and food. I need someone who won't run off the minute spring comes. Why would you think I won't run? Because you've got nowhere to run to. His words weren't cruel. They were just honest. Brutally, terribly honest. Violet's chest tightened. She hated that he was right. Hated that he could see straight through her like she was made of glass. What happened to your last wife? She asked. The saloon went quiet. Even Henderson stopped wiping down glasses. Adam's jaw worked. Fever took her. 3 years back. I'm sorry. Don't be. She wouldn't want your pity. He gestured toward the table. Sit down. You're swaying on your feet. Violet didn't want to sit. Didn't want to give him the satisfaction of being right about her exhaustion. But her legs were shaking so badly, she was afraid she'd collapse if she didn't move soon. She crossed the room and sank into the chair across from him. Up close, she could see more. The scar along his jaw. The calluses on his hands. The way his eyes were blue like deep water. The kind that could pull you under if you weren't careful. I can cook, Violet said. I can clean. I can mend, and I can manage a household budget. My father taught me to read and write and do figures. Your father teach you how to handle a rifle? She blinked. What? Rifle, gun, the kind of thing you need when coyotes come sniffing around the chicken coop at 3 in the morning. No, I'll teach you. Adam reached for his whiskey, took a slow sip. Ranch is 15 miles from town. Winter lasts 6 months up there. You'll be alone most days while I'm out with the cattle. You'll need to know how to protect yourself. Violet's mind was spinning. You're serious? You actually want to marry me? A complete stranger? I told you what I need. A wife. Someone steady. Someone who won't leave. He set the glass down with a soft clink. I'm not asking you to love me, Miss Lewis. I'm asking you to work beside me. To build something that lasts. How do you know my name? Henderson mentioned it when you first came in. Said you told him. She didn't remember that. Didn't remember much of anything after stumbling through that door, except the blessed warmth of the fire and the way her fingers had started to burn as they thawed. What's your offer exactly? Violet asked. Her voice was steadier now. She was negotiating. This was something she understood. Her father had been a merchant before the bottom fell out. She'd watched him make deals her whole life. Adam seemed to recognize the shift in her tone. He sat forward. You marry me tonight. We go to the ranch tomorrow morning. You run the house however you see fit. I don't interfere. In return, you get a room, board, and a share of whatever profits the ranch makes each year. A share? 10% of the net. 20. His eyebrows went up. 15. 17. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Done. Violet's heart was hammering. She couldn't believe she was doing this. Couldn't believe she was sitting here negotiating the terms of her own marriage like it was a business contract. But wasn't that exactly what it was? I want it in writing, she said. Fine. We'll draw it up tonight before the ceremony. And if it doesn't work? If I decide to leave in the spring? Adam's expression darkened. Then you leave. I won't stop you. But you leave with nothing except what you came with. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Miss Lewis. You know that better than most. He stood up. Henderson, get us some paper and ink. Henderson grumbled, but produced both. Adam pushed them across the table toward Violet. Write it out, he said. Whatever terms you want to hold me to, I'll sign it. Violet's hand shook as she picked up the pen. This was insane. This was the most reckless thing she'd ever done in her entire life. But what choice did she have? She started writing. Marriage contract between Adam Xavier and Violet Lewis. Terms of agreement. Rights and responsibilities. Division of assets. She made sure to include a clause about her freedom to leave if she chose, though Adam's warning echoed in her head. When she finished, she slid the paper across to him. Adam read it slowly, his eyes moving over each line. Then he picked up the pen and signed his name at the bottom in bold, confident strokes. Your turn, he said. Violet signed. The ink was still wet when Adam folded the paper and tucked it into his coat pocket. Preacher lives 2 doors down, he said. Let's get this done before the storm gets worse. They walked out into the snow together. Violet had expected to feel terror, but instead, she felt numb, like she was watching herself from somewhere far away. The preacher's house was small and warm. His wife answered the door, took one look at them, and called for her husband. We need to be married, Adam said. Now. The preacher was an older man with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Son, marriage isn't something to rush into. We're not rushing. We're being practical. The preacher's gaze shifted to Violet. Is this what you want, child? Violet opened her mouth, closed it. What did she want? She wanted her father back. She wanted her old life back. She wanted to wake up and find out this was all a nightmare. But none of that was possible. Yes, she said. This is what I want. The ceremony took less than 10 minutes. The preacher's wife stood as witness. Adam slipped a plain gold band onto Violet's finger. It was too big, loose enough that she had to curl her finger to keep it from falling off. "I now pronounce you man and wife," the preacher said. Adam didn't kiss her, didn't even reach for her hand. He just nodded, thanked the preacher, and led Violet back out into the snow. They stayed at Henderson's boarding house that night. Separate rooms. Adam paid for both without comment. Violet lay awake in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, wondering what she'd just done. The gold ring felt heavy on her finger. Foreign. Wrong. She was married. To a stranger. A man she'd known for less than 3 hours. Morning came too soon. Adam knocked on her door before sunrise. "We need to leave while the road's still passable," he said through the wood. Violet dressed quickly, gathered her few belongings, and met him downstairs. He'd already loaded supplies onto a wagon. Flour, sugar, coffee, beans. Enough to last months. The ride to the ranch was silent. The wagon wheels crunched through fresh snow. Violet's breath made clouds in the frozen air. After an hour, Adam spoke. "You'll have your own room. I'm not expecting—" He stopped, cleared his throat. "I'm not expecting anything from you, except what we agreed to." Violet's face burned despite the cold. "I understand." "Do you?" "You made yourself perfectly clear, Mr. Xavier." "Adam," he said, "you're my wife now. You should use my name." Adam. The word felt strange in her mouth. The ranch appeared through the trees like something out of a dream. It was bigger than she'd expected. A 2-story house with a wide porch, a barn, corrals, everything covered in pristine white snow. Adam helped her down from the wagon. Her boots sank into the drifts. "This way," he said, leading her to the house. Inside, it was cold. He went straight to the fireplace and got a fire going, while Violet stood in the middle of the main room, taking it all in. It was sparse, clean but empty. No curtains on the windows, no rugs on the floor, no pictures on the walls. "I'll show you your room," Adam said. He led her upstairs to a bedroom at the end of the hall. It had a bed, a dresser, and a window that looked out over the mountains. "This was going to be—" Adam stopped. "This is yours now." Violet set her carpet bag down on the bed. "Thank you." He nodded and left her alone. She sank onto the mattress and finally let herself cry. Not loud, wrenching sobs, just quiet tears that slid down her cheeks and dripped onto her hands. What had she done? 3 days passed. Violet threw herself into work because it was the only thing she knew how to do. She cleaned every inch of that house, scrubbed floors, washed windows, organized the kitchen, cooked meals that Adam ate in silence before disappearing back outside. They barely spoke. He worked from dawn until dark. She kept the house running. On the 4th night, Adam came in after dark, covered in dirt and exhaustion. Violet had made stew. She served him a bowl without comment. He ate half of it before setting his spoon down. "You're a good cook," he said. "Thank you." Silence fell again. Violet started clearing the dishes. "I'm not—" Adam started, then stopped. "I'm not good at this." "At what?" "Talking. Being around people. It's been just me for so long, I've forgotten how to—" He made a frustrated gesture. "I don't know what you want from me." Violet turned to face him. "I don't want anything from you except what we agreed to." "That's a lie." Her spine stiffened. "Excuse me?" "You want to know if you made the right choice, if this was worth it." "If I'm—" He stood up. "You want to know if I'm going to hurt you." Violet's throat went tight. "Are you?" "No." The word was immediate, absolute. I've got no interest in being that kind of man." "Then what kind of man are you, Adam?" He looked at her for a long moment. "The kind who keeps his promises, even when they're hard, even when they hurt." He grabbed his coat. "I'm going to check on the horses." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Violet stood there in the kitchen, her hands gripping the edge of the table, and wondered if she'd ever understand the man she'd married. But somewhere deep inside, underneath all the fear and uncertainty, a tiny spark of something else flickered to life. Curiosity. That curiosity became her constant companion over the next 2 weeks, shadowing her through every chore, every silent meal, every moment Adam walked past her like she was part of the furniture. She hated it. Hated wanting to know more about a man who'd made it clear he wanted nothing from her except competent housekeeping. The morning everything changed started ordinary enough. Violet was kneading bread dough when Adam came in from the barn, his face pale. "One of the cows is down," he said. "Breech birth. I need your hands." "My hands?" "They're smaller than mine. The calf's stuck." He was already heading back toward the door. "Now, Violet." She didn't think, just wiped her flour-covered hands on her apron and followed him out into the freezing morning air. The cow was on her side in the barn, breathing hard, eyes rolling with pain. Violet's stomach turned. "I can't." "Yes, you can." Adam was beside the animal, his sleeves already rolled up. "I'll talk you through it, but if we don't get this calf out in the next 10 minutes, we lose them both." Violet knelt in the straw. Her hands were shaking. "Give me your hand," Adam said. His fingers wrapped around her wrist, guiding her. "Feel that? That's the calf's leg. You need to push it back and find the other one. Gently." The warmth, the blood, the sheer wrongness of having her arm inside a dying animal. Violet wanted to be sick. But Adam's voice kept her anchored. "You're doing good. Now the other leg. Can you feel it?" "I think so." "Don't think. Know." Her fingers found it. "Yes, I have it." Pull. Slow and steady. When she contracts, you pull. Violet pulled. The cow bellowed, and suddenly there was a calf, wet and steaming in the cold air, collapsing into the straw. "Is it alive?" Violet gasped. Adam was already clearing the calf's airways, rubbing it with handfuls of straw. After what felt like an eternity, the calf shuddered and took its first breath. "You did it," Adam said. He looked at Violet, really looked at her, for the first time since their wedding night. "You saved them both." Violet stared at her bloody hands and started laughing. Not gentle laughter. Wild, borderline hysterical laughter that she couldn't control. Adam's expression shifted. "You all right?" "I just had my arm inside a cow." "You did?" I didn't even know." She couldn't finish the sentence. The laughter turned to something else, something that burned behind her eyes. Adam pulled her to her feet. "Come on, let's get you cleaned up." They walked back to the house in silence, but it was a different kind of silence than before. Something had shifted between them, small as a hairline crack in ice. Inside, Adam pumped water into a basin while Violet scrubbed her hands raw. "I should have warned you," he said, "about what ranching actually means." "You think I can't handle it?" "I think you handled it better than most." He leaned against the counter. "My wife, Sarah, she couldn't stomach it. The blood, the birthing, the death. She stayed in the house most days. Never went near the barn if she could help it." It was the first time he'd said his dead wife's name out loud. Violet dried her hands slowly. "How long were you married?" 4 years. "Did you love her?" The question hung between them like smoke. Adam's jaw tightened. I thought I did. But looking back, I don't know if either of us knew what love actually was. We were young, stupid, got married because it seemed like the thing to do. He pushed off the counter. I'm going back out. Adam, wait. He stopped. Thank you, Violet said, for trusting me with that. The calf. Something flickered across his face. You're my wife. Of course I trust you. But the way he said it made Violet wonder if he was trying to convince himself. That night at dinner, Adam actually spoke without being prompted. There's a town meeting next week, he said. Social gathering. Most of the ranchers and their families come. Do you want me to go? People will expect to meet you, my wife. The words still sounded foreign in his mouth. We can say no if you'd rather. I'll go. He nodded, relief crossing his features so quickly she almost missed it. Good. That's good. 3 days later, Violet was collecting eggs when she heard horses. Multiple horses. She walked out of the henhouse to find 3 men on horseback in the yard. The one in front tipped his hat. Ma'am, we're looking for Adam Xavier. He's out checking fence line. Can I help you? The man's eyes traveled over her in a way that made her skin crawl. You must be the new wife. Heard Xavier went and got himself hitched. And you are? Name's Garrett. I run the ranch adjacent to this one. He dismounted. We've got business to discuss with your husband. Then you can wait for him to return. Or we could come inside and warm up while we wait. Garrett took a step toward the house. Violet moved to block him. No. His smile disappeared. Now that's not very hospitable. My husband isn't here. That makes you trespassers. Her heart was hammering, but her voice stayed level. You can wait in the yard, or you can leave. One of the other men laughed. She's got fire, Garrett. Garrett's hand moved to his hip where a pistol hung. You know what happened to the last person who told me no, Mrs. Xavier? I don't care what happened to them. Violet's fingers found the door handle behind her. Leave, now. Or what? You'll scream? Garrett took another step. Ain't nobody around to hear you. The sound of a rifle cocking cut through the air like a blade. Adam's voice came from behind them, cold as winter's steel. But I'm around, and I heard every word. All 3 men spun. Adam sat on his horse 30 feet away, rifle aimed directly at Garrett's chest. Get off my property, Adam said. Xavier, we just came to talk business. My wife told you to leave. That means leave. He didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. The rifle spoke loud enough. Garrett's face went red, but he climbed back on his horse. This isn't over. It is until you learn to respect my door. Now ride. They rode. Fast. Adam waited until they were out of sight before lowering the rifle. He dismounted and walked straight to Violet. Did they touch you? No, I'm fine. His hands gripped her shoulders. If they'd touched you. They didn't. Adam, I'm fine. But he wasn't fine. She could see it in the tension in his jaw, the white-knuckled grip on his rifle, the way his eyes kept darting to the road where the men had disappeared. Who was that? Violet asked. Trouble. Adam released her and headed into the house. Violet followed. Inside, he paced. Garrett's been trying to buy me out for 2 years. Says my land sits on the best water source in the valley. I keep telling him no. What kind of business was he talking about? The kind that isn't business at all. Adam slammed the rifle down on the table. He's been cutting my fence, stealing cattle, trying to make it so expensive to run this place that I'd give up and sell. That's illegal. And who's going to stop him? The sheriff's in his pocket. Half the town owes him money. He stopped pacing, looked at Violet. I'm sorry. I should have told you. Should have warned you that marrying me meant you'd be caught up in this.
You think I can't handle conflict?
I think you shouldn't have to. Violet moved closer to him.
I held my ground today. I didn't run. I didn't break.
I know. His voice was rough. I saw.
Then stop treating me like I'm made of glass.
They stood there, inches apart, tension crackling between them like lightning about to strike. Adam spoke first. You're braver than I gave you credit for.
And you're more protective than you let on.
His hand lifted, almost touched her face, then dropped. I can't lose this ranch, Violet. It's all I have left of... He stopped. It's all I have.
Then we won't lose it.
We?
You said I was your wife.
That means your fight is my fight, too. Something changed in his eyes. Something warm and dangerous and terrifying. You mean that, he said, not a question. I do. The words hung between them, an echo of their wedding vows. Adam stepped back, breaking the moment. I need to ride into town, talk to some people, figure out what Garrett's planning next.
I'm coming with you.
Violet, I'm your wife, remember? People expect to meet me anyway. Might as well be now. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Go get ready. We leave in 10 minutes. The ride into town was tense. Adam kept scanning the horizon like he expected an ambush at any moment.
Tell me about Sarah,
Violet said suddenly. Adam's hands tightened on the reins. Why?
Because she's a ghost in that house, and I'm tired of competing with someone I never knew.
You're not competing.
Yes, I am.
Violet turned to face him.
Every time you look at me and then look away.
Every time you start to say something and stop. Every time you treat me like I'm temporary, you're comparing me to her. And I need to know who I'm being measured against. The wagon rolled on for a full minute before Adam spoke.
She was beautiful, he said finally.
The kind of beautiful that made men stupid. I was 24 when we met. Thought I'd won the lottery when she agreed to marry me. What happened?
She hated it here. The isolation, the work, the cold. She wanted a house in town, fancy dresses, parties. I wanted to build something lasting. We fought, constantly.
He paused. The night she got sick, we'd had the worst fight yet. She told me she was leaving as soon as spring came. 2 days later, the fever started. A week after that, she was gone. That's not your fault.
Isn't it? If I'd been different, maybe she would have been happy. Maybe she would have fought harder to stay alive.
Violet grabbed his arm.
Adam, look at me.
He did. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved, she said. And you can't blame yourself for being who you are. Who am I, Violet? The question caught her off guard. You're stubborn, she said slowly. You're loyal to a fault. You keep your promises even when they cost you everything. You're terrible at talking about your feelings, but you'll march into danger with a rifle to protect what's yours. She took a breath. You're a good man who's been hurt and doesn't know how to let anyone close again. Adam stared at her like she'd just spoken a language he didn't know. How do you see all that? He asked. Because I'm the same way. The truth settled between them, heavy as snow. They reached town as the sun started to set. Adam took her straight to the general store, where a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue looked Violet up and down. So you're the one who married Adam, the woman said. I'm Margaret. I run this place with my husband. Violet Xavier. Margaret's eyebrows shot up.
You took his name. Why wouldn't I? Most women these days keep their own. She studied Violet more carefully. You're different than I expected. How so? You've got steel in you. Adam's last wife was all silk and lace. Pretty, but useless. Margaret leaned in. Can you shoot? Not yet. Adam, teach your wife to shoot. Woman alone on that ranch needs to know how to handle a gun. I know, Adam said. I've been meaning to. Then do it. Tomorrow. Margaret turned back to Violet. You come to me if you need anything, and I mean anything. This town's got some good people, but it's also got snakes, like Garrett. You watch your back. They left the store with supplies and warnings ringing in their ears. On the ride home, Adam broke the silence. Tomorrow, I'll teach you to shoot. All right. And Violet? Yes? What you said earlier, about me being a good man. He kept his eyes on the road. Nobody's called me that in a long time. Thank you. Violet's chest tightened. You're welcome. That night, she lay in bed listening to Adam move around in his room down the hall. The floorboards creaked. A drawer opened and closed. Then silence. She'd been married for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of living with a stranger who was slowly becoming something else. Something that scared her more than Garrett's threats, or the isolation, or the uncertainty of her future. Because somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, Violet was starting to care about Adam Xavier. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. The dangerous part was that Adam seemed to be feeling the same way, and neither of them knew what to do about it. Morning came with Adam knocking on her door before dawn. Get dressed, we're going shooting. Violet pulled on her warmest clothes and met him outside. He'd set up bottles on fence posts 50 yards from the house. This is a Winchester rifle, Adam said, holding up the weapon. It'll kick hard the first few times. Don't let it scare you. I'm not scared. You should be. A gun demands respect. He showed her how to load it, how to hold it, how to breathe before pulling the trigger. Now you try. Violet lifted the rifle. It was heavier than she'd expected. Tuck it tighter into your shoulder, Adam said, moving behind her. His hands adjusted her grip, his chest nearly touching her back. Like this. Feel how steady that is? She couldn't feel anything except his proximity, his warmth cutting through the cold morning air. Now aim. Don't think. Just let your body find the target. Violet squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked back hard, slamming into her shoulder. The bottle remained untouched. Again, Adam said. She fired again. Missed again. You're anticipating the recoil. That's making you flinch. His hand covered hers on the rifle. Trust the weapon. Trust yourself. Third shot. The bottle exploded. There, Adam said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. You're a natural. They spent 2 hours out there. By the end, Violet could hit 4 out of 5 targets. Her shoulder throbbed and her ears rang, but she felt powerful in a way she never had before. Thank you, she said as they walked back to the house. For what? For teaching me. For trusting me with this. Adam stopped walking. Violet, I need to tell you something. Her heart jumped. What? Garrett's not going to let this go. What happened yesterday? That was just the beginning. He turned to face her. Things are going to get worse before they get better. And I need to know if you're going to stay or if you're going to run. I told you I won't run. You said that before you knew what you were up against. Violet stepped closer to him. I know exactly what I'm up against. A man who's trying to steal what's yours. A corrupt sheriff who won't help. A town too scared to stand up to a bully. She lifted her chin. I'm not running, Adam. Not from Garrett. Not from this ranch. Not from you. Something cracked in his expression. You barely know me. Then let me know you better. It's not that simple. Why not?
Because the last woman who knew me couldn't stand what she found. His voice went rough. And I won't go through that again.
I'm not Sarah.
I know. That's what scares me. The admission hung between them like a spark near dry kindling. Before Violet could respond, the sound of hoofbeats cut through the air. They both turned to see a rider coming hard up the road. It was a boy, maybe 16, on a lathered horse.
"Mr. Xavier!" the boy shouted as he pulled up. "Mr. Xavier, you gotta come quick!"
Adam grabbed the horse's bridle. What happened?
"It's your cattle. Someone drove them off your north pasture. Whole herd's gone."
Violet watched the color drain from Adam's face. How many?
"Near 50 head, sir. Mr.
Henderson sent me to fetch you soon as he saw them being moved." Adam's jaw clenched so hard, Violet heard his teeth grind. Garrett. "Yes, sir. That's what Mr. Henderson said, too. Go back to town. Tell Henderson I'm riding north." Adam was already moving toward the barn. "Violet, stay in the house. Keep the rifle loaded." "No." He spun around. "This isn't up for debate." "You're right. It's not." Violet was already following him. "Those are our cattle, our livelihood. I'm coming with you." "It's too dangerous." "Then it's too dangerous for you, too." "Violet, we're wasting time arguing." She grabbed his arm. "Either we both go or we both stay. Choose." Adam stared at her, something like awe mixed with frustration crossing his face. "You're going to get yourself killed." "Not if you teach me how to stay alive." He muttered something under his breath that sounded like a curse and a prayer mixed together. "Fine, but you do exactly what I say. Understood?" "Understood." They saddled 2 horses and rode north, with the boy leading the way. The land opened up into rolling hills covered in snow. In the distance, Violet could see dust rising, the telltale sign of moving cattle. "There," Adam said, pointing. "See that? They're driving them toward Garrett's property line. Once they cross, he'll claim they wandered over on their own." "Can't we prove they're yours?" "Not without a brand inspector, and the nearest one is 3 days' ride from here." He pulled his rifle from its saddle holster. "Stay behind me. If shooting starts, you get down and you stay down." They rode closer. Violet counted 6 men with the cattle. 6 against 2. Adam didn't hesitate. He rode straight toward them, rifle across his saddle. "That's far enough," he shouted. The men stopped. One of them, Garrett, turned his horse around. "Xavier, what brings you out here?" "Those are my cattle." "Are they? They were on open range when we found them. No brand, no proof of ownership." Garrett smiled. "Finders keepers, as they say." "They're branded, every single one." "Then I guess we'll have to check, won't we?" Garrett gestured to his men. "Boys, check for brands." But none of them moved toward the cattle. They moved toward Adam. Violet's heart slammed against her ribs. She pulled her rifle from its holster, her hands shaking. "Violet, don't," Adam started. The crack of her rifle cut him off. She'd aimed high, deliberately missing, but the shot was loud enough to make everyone freeze. "The next one won't miss," Violet said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Now back away from my husband." Garrett laughed. "You think you can shoot all 6 of us?" "I think I can shoot you before your men shoot me, and I'm betting you'd rather walk away than die over stolen cattle." The smile slid off Garrett's face. "You've got spirit, I'll give you that." "I've got a rifle and a bad temper. Now move." For a moment, nobody breathed. Then Garrett raised his hand. "Stand down, boys. The lady's feeling feisty today." His men lowered their weapons, but didn't holster them. "This isn't over, Xavier," Garrett said. "Not by a long shot." "It is for today. Now ride out before my wife decides she doesn't want to miss after all." They rode out slowly, making a show of not being intimidated. But they rode. As soon as they were out of sight, Violet lowered the rifle. Her hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. Adam was beside her in an instant. "Are you insane?" "Probably. You could have gotten yourself killed." "But I didn't." He grabbed her shoulders. "Violet, you can't do things like that. You can't risk yourself for cattle." "They're not just cattle. They're our future, our survival." She met his eyes. "And you're my husband. I'm not going to sit back and watch you face down 6 armed men alone." "That's exactly what you should do. You should have stayed safe." "There's no safe anymore, Adam. Don't you see? Garrett made that decision for us when he came onto our land." She pulled away from him. "I'm not Sarah. I won't break. I won't run, and I won't watch you fight alone." Adam's expression shifted through half a dozen emotions before landing on something that looked dangerously close to admiration. "You're the most stubborn woman I've ever met." "Good. You need stubborn." He almost smiled. Almost. "We need to get these cattle back home." They rounded up the herd and started driving them south. It took hours. By the time they got the cattle secured in the pasture closest to the house, night had fallen, and both of them were exhausted. Inside, Violet started making coffee with hands that wouldn't stop trembling. "You should sit down," Adam said. "I'm fine." "Violet." The cup slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. Violet stared at the pieces, and suddenly she couldn't breathe. The fear she'd pushed down all day came roaring up, choking her. "I could have died," she whispered. "We both could have died." Adam crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled her against his chest. "But we didn't. We're here. We're safe." "For how long? Garrett's not going to stop. He'll keep coming until—" "Then we'll keep fighting." She pulled back to look at him. "Why? Why is this land worth dying for?" "Because it's mine. Because I built it with my own hands. Because—" He stopped, jaw working. "Because if I lose this, I lose everything. Again." "What did you lose the first time?" "My parents. This was their land. They died when I was 22. Influenza swept through, took them both in the same week." His voice went flat, emotionless. "Sarah and I married 6 months later. I thought if I could keep the ranch going, keep their legacy alive, it would mean something. That their deaths wouldn't be for nothing." "Adam." "But Sarah hated it here, and I was so focused on the ranch, on surviving, that I didn't see how miserable she was until it was too late." He looked at Violet. "After she died, I swore I'd never make that mistake again. Never put the ranch before a person." "That's why you offered to marry me. You wanted someone who'd choose the ranch willingly." "I wanted someone who wouldn't resent me for loving this place more than I could love them." The words hit Violet like a physical blow. "Is that what you think? That you can't love both?" "I don't know. I've never been able to before." Violet took his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. "I'm not asking you to choose, Adam. I'm asking you to let me stand beside you, to let me fight for this place the same way you do." "Why would you fight for something that's not even yours?" "Because it is mine. The moment I signed that contract, the moment I married you, it became mine too." She took a shaky breath. "And because somewhere along the way, you became mine too. And I'll be damned if I let Garrett or anyone else take what's mine." Adam's eyes went dark. "Violet, I know this wasn't supposed to happen. I know we agreed this was just practical. But I can't—" Her voice broke. "I can't keep pretending I don't care about you." For a moment, he just stared at her. Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle.
It was desperate and fierce and full of everything neither of them knew how to say. Violet kissed him back with equal intensity, her fingers tangling in his hair, her heart hammering against her ribs. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. "This changes everything," Adam said. "I know. I can't promise. I don't know if I can. I'm not asking for promises." Violet touched his face. "I'm just asking you to stop pushing me away." He leaned his forehead against hers. "I'm terrified of losing you." "Then don't lose me. Keep me." His arms tightened around her. "I'm not good at this." "Neither am I." They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other like lifelines, the broken cup forgotten on the floor between them. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. Winter wasn't done with them yet. Neither was Garrett. But for the first time since she'd walked into that saloon, desperate and freezing, Violet felt like she'd found something worth fighting for. Not just the ranch, not just survival. Adam. And she'd burn the whole world down before she let anyone take him from her. The tenderness lasted exactly one night. The next morning, Adam was gone before dawn. Violet woke to find a note on the kitchen table. "Riding to check the north fence. Be back by noon." He wasn't back by noon, or by sunset, or by the time Violet had paced the kitchen floor so many times she'd worn a path in the wood. When he finally walked through the door at midnight, his face was grim. "They cut the fence in 12 places," he said without preamble. "Drove off another 20 head before I could stop them." Violet's stomach dropped. 20? "And they left this." He pulled a piece of paper from his pocket and slammed it on the table. Violet unfolded it. The message was short. "Final offer. Sell or lose everything. You have 1 week." "That's a threat." "That's a promise." Adam's hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. "He's going to bleed us dry, Violet, little by little, until there's nothing left." "Then we go to the law." "The sheriff is Garrett's cousin." "Then we go over his head, territorial marshal, federal authorities." "And say what? That we suspect Garrett? We've got no proof, no witnesses willing to testify, nothing." He sank into a chair. "We're alone in this." Violet pulled out the chair beside him and sat. "No, we're not. We have each other." "That's not enough against 6 armed men and a corrupt system." "Then we make it enough." She grabbed his hand. "Adam, look at me." He did, and the exhaustion in his eyes nearly broke her. "We're not giving up," she said. "Not on this ranch. Not on us. We find another way." "There is no other way." "There's always another way." Violet stood up. "Tomorrow we ride to every neighboring ranch. We find out who else Garrett's been threatening. We build an alliance." "Nobody's going to stand against him." "We won't know until we ask." Adam studied her for a long moment. "You really believe we can win this?" "I believe we can try. That's all anyone can do." Something shifted in his expression. "When did you get so damn strong?" "I learned from you." He pulled her down onto his lap, buried his face in her neck. "I don't deserve you." "Too late. You're stuck with me." They stayed like that until the fire burned low, and sleep finally claimed them both. The next 3 days were a blur of riding and rejection. Every rancher they visited had the same story. Garrett had approached them, made offers, made threats, but nobody was willing to stand with Adam. "He'll ruin us," one man said. "Better to keep our heads down and hope he leaves us alone." "He won't leave you alone," Violet argued. "Once he takes our land, he'll come for yours next." "That's our problem to deal with when it comes." By the 4th day,
Adam was ready to give up. Violet wasn't. "There's one more place we haven't tried," she said. "Where?" "The church." Adam laughed bitterly. "You think the preacher's going to fight Garrett?" "I think the preacher might know who else will." They rode to town that afternoon. The preacher who'd married them was in his church, preparing Sunday's sermon. "Adam, Violet." He looked up with surprise. "What brings you here?" "We need help," Violet said, "and we're running out of places to look." She told him everything: the stolen cattle, the cut fences, the threats. When she finished, the preacher was quiet for a long time. "Garrett's been operating like this for years," he finally said. "Nobody's been able to stop him because nobody's been willing to stand together." "Exactly. So we need to change that." "How?" "Sunday service. You give a sermon about standing up to tyranny, about protecting your neighbors, about doing what's right, even when it's hard." Violet leaned forward. "You plant the seed, we'll water it." The preacher looked at Adam. "You willing to risk everything on a sermon?" "We're already risking everything," Adam said. "Might as well risk it on hope." Sunday came. The church was packed. Violet and Adam sat in the back, watching as the preacher took the pulpit. "Today I want to talk about courage," he began. "Not the courage it takes to face down a wild animal or survive a harsh winter. I'm talking about the courage it takes to stand beside your neighbor when standing alone would be easier." Heads turned. Eyes found Adam and Violet. "There's evil in this valley," the preacher continued. "Evil that steals and threatens and destroys. Evil that counts on good people staying silent." His voice rose. "But silence in the face of evil is complicity, and complicity is a sin." Violet felt the room shift, saw shoulders straighten, saw jaws set. The preacher wasn't done. "So I'm asking you today, each and every one of you, to search your hearts. When you see injustice, will you look away, or will you stand?" After the service, 3 ranchers approached Adam, then 5, then 10. "We've all had trouble with Garrett," one said. "Maybe it's time we stopped fighting alone." By sunset, they had 15 families pledged to stand together. It wasn't an army, but it was a start. That night, Adam pulled Violet into his arms. "You did this. You gave them courage." "We did this. Together." He kissed her, slow and deep. "I'm falling in love with you, Violet Xavier, and that terrifies me." "Why?" "Because love makes you vulnerable, and vulnerable gets you killed. Or it makes you stronger." She touched his face. "I love you too, Adam, and I'm not afraid of what that means." "You should be." The warning came too late. 2 days later, Violet was alone at the ranch when she heard the horses. Multiple horses, moving fast. She grabbed the rifle and ran to the window. 6 men, Garrett leading them. Her blood turned to ice. Adam was in town. She was alone. The men didn't knock. They kicked the door open and walked in like they owned the place. "Well now," Garrett said, looking around. "Where's your husband, Mrs. Xavier?" "Not here." "Good. Makes this easier." He gestured to his men. "Search the place. Take anything valuable." "You're thieves." "We're businessmen, and your husband owes us for all those cattle he stole back." "We stole nothing. Those were our cattle." Garrett's hand shot out and grabbed her throat, slamming her against the wall. The rifle clattered to the floor. "Your husband has been very bad for business," he hissed. "Getting the town all riled up, turning neighbors against me. That stops today." Violet couldn't breathe. Her vision was starting to blur. "You're going to write him a note," Garrett continued. "Tell him you're leaving, that you can't handle ranch life, that you want a divorce." "No." His grip tightened. "Yes, or I'll burn this house down with you in it." Through the window, Violet saw movement. Adam, riding hard up the road. Garrett saw him too. He dropped Violet and pulled his gun. "Boys, we've got company." Violet's hand found the rifle. "Drop it or I drop you," Garrett said, gun aimed at her head. She dropped it. Adam burst through the door. He took in the scene in half a second. Violet gasping for air. Garrett with a gun. 5 men ransacking his house. "Let her go," Adam said, his voice deadly calm. "Or what? You'll shoot me in front of witnesses?" "No. I'll beat you to death with my bare hands." Garrett laughed. "You against 6 of us? Those are bad odds." "He's not against 6. The voice came from the doorway. Margaret stood there with a shotgun. Behind her, the preacher. Behind him, 10 more men from town, all armed. Garrett's smile disappeared. "This is private property." "So is this house," Margaret said. "And you're trespassing. Now I suggest you leave before we forget we're Christian folk." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Garrett holstered his gun. "This isn't over." "Yes," Adam said. "It is. Touch my wife again, and there won't be enough of you left to bury. Touch my property again, and I'll hunt you down myself. And next time, I won't wait for witnesses." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Garrett and his men left. Slowly. Reluctantly. But they left. As soon as they were gone, Adam crossed the room and pulled Violet into his arms. "Did he hurt you?" "I'm fine." "That's a lie." She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. "He was going to kill me." I know. Adam's arms tightened. "I'm sorry. I should have been here. I should have—" "You couldn't have known." Margaret stepped forward. "We saw them ride past town. Figured they were heading here. Gathered as many men as we could." The preacher nodded. "Violet's sermon worked. People are ready to fight." Adam looked at the men crowding his doorway. "Thank you, all of you." "We should have stood up years ago," one rancher said. "Shame it took this to wake us up." "What matters is you're standing now," Violet said. Her voice was hoarse but steady. "All of us. Together." After everyone left, Adam and Violet sat by the fire. She was wrapped in a blanket, drinking tea that Adam had made too strong. "I almost lost you today," he said. "But you didn't." "It was close. Too close." He pulled her against his chest. "Violet, maybe you should leave. Go somewhere safe until this is over." "No, it's not safe here." "It's not safe anywhere, not with Garrett still free to terrorize people." She turned to look at him. "Besides, where would I go? This is my home now. You're my home." "I can't protect you if you won't leave." "I don't need you to protect me. I need you to stand beside me while we protect each other." He kissed her forehead. "Stubborn woman." "Stubborn man." They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling, the night pressing in around them. "We need to end this," Adam finally said. "For good." "How?" "I don't know yet, but Garrett made a mistake today. He showed his hand, showed everyone what he really is." Adam's jaw set. "We use that. We turn the whole town against him." "And if that doesn't work?" "Then we make him wish he'd never heard our names." Violet should have been scared, should have been horrified by the violence in Adam's voice. Instead, she felt fierce pride. This was her husband, her partner, her home. And together, they were going to burn Garrett's empire to the ground. The burning started 3 nights later, but not the way Violet expected. She woke to Adam shaking her shoulder, his face pale in the moonlight. "The barn's on fire."
They ran outside in their nightclothes. Flames were already eating through the roof, hungry and orange against the black sky. "The horses!" Violet gasped. Adam was already running. He kicked open the barn doors and disappeared into the smoke. Violet grabbed buckets, started pumping water, her heart slamming against her ribs. One horse came out, then another. Then Adam, coughing, his face black with soot. "That's all of them," he said. "The cattle?" "In the far pasture. They're safe." He stared at the burning barn, his life's work collapsing into ash and ember. "He's escalating. We need to end this now." "How? We've got the town on our side, but that doesn't stop arson. Doesn't stop him from destroying everything I've built."
Violet grabbed his face, forced him to look at her.
"Then we stop playing defense. We go on the attack."
"What are you suggesting?"
"We find proof, real proof, something so damning that even the corrupt sheriff can't ignore it."
Adam's eyes went hard. "His ranch, the records.
Can we get to them?"
"Not legally."
"I didn't ask if it was legal. I asked if we could do it."
A slow smile crossed his face. "You're talking about breaking into his house."
"I'm talking about getting justice."
They spent the next day planning. Margaret knew Garrett's household staff, a cook who hated him, and a stable hand who'd been cheated on wages. By sunset, they had inside information. Garrett kept his business records in a safe in his study. The combination was his daughter's birthday. "How do we get the birthday?" Violet asked. Margaret smiled.
"His daughter and I serve on the church ladies' committee. I'll find out."
2 days later, they had everything they needed. The birthday, the layout of the house, the schedule of when Garrett would be in town for his weekly poker game.
"This is insane," Adam said as they prepared to leave. "If we get caught, we won't get caught. Violet, if something goes wrong, then we improvise, like we always do."
She checked her rifle one more time. "Are you with me or not?" "I'm with you, always." He pulled her in for a hard kiss. "But if this goes sideways, you run. You hear me? You don't wait for me. You just run." "I'm not leaving you." "Promise me." "No." He cursed under his breath, but didn't argue. They both knew it would be pointless. They rode to Garrett's ranch under cover of darkness. The house sat on a hill, imposing and cold. Violet's hands were sweating inside her gloves. "Back door," Adam whispered. "Cook said she'd leave it unlocked." They crept around the side of the house. The door opened silently. Inside, the kitchen was dark and empty. They moved through the house like ghosts. Every creak of floorboard made Violet's heart stop. Every shadow looked like a threat. The study was on the second floor. Adam picked the lock with hands that didn't shake. Inside, the safe sat behind a painting of Garrett's late wife. "December 8th, Violet whispered, reading from the paper Margaret had given them. Adam spun the dial. The safe clicked open. Inside were ledgers, dozens of them. Adam grabbed the most recent one and started flipping through pages. "This is it," he breathed. "Proof of every illegal land deal, every bribe, every piece of stolen property." His hands were shaking now. This could put him away for 20 years. Take them all. If he notices they're gone, he'll know someone broke in anyway. Might as well make it worth the risk. They stuffed the ledgers into a sack. Adam was closing the safe when they heard voices downstairs. Garrett's voice. "He's home early," Violet whispered. "Window, now." But the study window looked out over a 30-foot drop onto stone patio. "We're trapped," Violet said. Adam's mind was racing. "The bedroom, across the hall. It has a balcony." They slipped out of the study just as footsteps started up the stairs. Made it to the bedroom. Adam eased the door shut behind them. "Search the house," Garrett was saying. "Someone's been in my study. I can smell it." Violet and Adam moved to the balcony. It was 15 feet to the ground, but there was a trellis covered in dead vines.
"Can it hold our weight?" Violet asked.
"Only one way to find out." Adam went first. The trellis groaned, but held. Violet followed, her dress catching on thorns, her hands scraping against rough wood. They were 5 feet from the ground when the trellis tore away from the wall. They fell hard. Violet's ankle twisted beneath her, and pain exploded up her leg.
"Can you walk?"
Adam asked.
"I have to."
He pulled her up. They limped toward the horses they'd hidden in the trees. Behind them, shouts erupted from the house.
"There! They're running!"
Gunshots cracked through the night. Violet ducked, running on an ankle that screamed with every step. Adam practically threw her onto her horse. They rode hard through the darkness, the ledgers clutched against Adam's chest. Garrett's men behind them firing wild shots that missed by yards.
"The river!"
Adam shouted.
"They won't follow us across in the dark."
They plunged into icy water up to their horses' chests. The current was vicious, pulling and shoving. Violet's horse stumbled. She nearly went under. Adam's hand shot out and grabbed her reins.
"Hold on!"
They made it across. Behind them, Garrett's men pulled up short at the riverbank, unwilling to risk the crossing. "This isn't over, Xavier," Garrett's voice carried across the water. "I'll burn everything you love." Adam didn't answer, just kept riding. They made it back to the ranch as dawn broke. Violet's ankle was swollen to twice its normal size. Adam carried her inside and set her on the kitchen chair.
"Let me see it."
"It's fine." "It's not fine. You can barely stand." He unwrapped her boot gently. "Sprained. Maybe broken. We need to get you to a doctor."
"After we deal with these."
Violet gestured to the ledgers. "What do they say?" Adam opened the most recent one and started reading. His expression went from grim to shocked to furious. He's been running a land fraud scheme for 8 years, forging deeds, bribing officials, stealing from widows and orphans. Adam's voice was shaking. "My parents' land. The 20 acres they lost before they died. He stole it. Forged my father's signature on a transfer deed." Violet's breath caught. "Adam, he killed them. Not directly, but the stress of losing that land, the debt it put them in." He slammed the ledgers shut. "He killed them. Then we make sure he pays." They took the ledgers straight to the territorial marshal who was passing through Montezuma on his circuit. A man named Coleman, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. "These are serious accusations," Coleman said after reviewing the evidence. "They're facts," Adam corrected. "Everything's documented. Dates, amounts, witnesses." Coleman nodded slowly. "I'll need to verify this, interview people, build a case."
"How long will that take?"
"Weeks, maybe months."
"We don't have months. Garrett knows we have these ledgers. He's going to run or destroy evidence or
come after you directly," Coleman finished. "Which is why I'm assigning 2 federal deputies to protect you until the trial."
"We don't need protection. We need justice."
"You'll get both. I promise you that." Coleman stood. "But justice takes time. And in the meantime, you keep your heads down and let my men do their job." The deputies arrived that afternoon. Young men, eager and green. They set up camp outside the ranch house, rifles at the ready. Violet hated it. Hated being guarded like a prisoner. Hated the waiting.
"He's going to attack," she told Adam that night. "I can feel it."
"Let him. We've got federal protection now."
2 boys with rifles. That's not protection against Garrett and his men."
"Then what do you want to do?"
"Set a trap. Draw him out. End this on our terms."
Adam studied her. "You've got a plan."
"I've got the beginning of one."
They spent the next 3 days preparing.
spread word through town that Adam would be transporting the original ledgers to the territorial capital personally. Let it slip that he'd be leaving at dawn, taking the old mountain road because it was faster. "You're using yourself as bait," one of the deputies protested. "I'm finishing this," Adam corrected. The night before the supposed transport, Adam and Violet didn't sleep. They lay in bed, holding each other, both knowing what was coming.
"If something happens to me," Adam started, "nothing's going to happen. But if it does, the ranch goes to you. Everything. I updated the will last week." Violet's throat tightened. "Adam, I need you to know that. Need you to know that everything I have is yours. Has been yours since the moment you walked into that saloon, looking like a half-frozen miracle." She kissed him, hard and desperate. "I love you." "I love you too. More than this land, more than revenge, more than anything." He pulled back to look at her. "Which is why if things go bad tomorrow, you run. You take the money in the safe, you get on a horse, and you run as far as you can." "We run together, or we don't run at all." Dawn came too fast. Adam loaded the wagon with a trunk full of rocks wrapped to look like ledgers. The real ledgers were locked in Marshal Coleman's office in town. Violet rode beside him, rifle across her lap, her ankle wrapped tight enough to bear weight. The deputies rode ahead and behind. They made it 5 miles before Garrett and 8 men blocked the road. "That's far enough, Xavier," Garrett called out. His hand rested on his gun. "Hand over the ledgers." "Come and take them," Adam said. Garrett smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." His men drew their weapons. The deputies did the same. 10 guns against 4. "This is a federal matter," one deputy shouted. "Stand down or face federal charges." Garrett laughed. "Federal charges? Boy, I own the judge. I own the sheriff. What makes you think I don't own the marshal, too?" "Because I don't take bribes." The voice came from behind Garrett. Marshal Coleman stepped out of the trees with 10 more federal deputies, all armed, all aimed at Garrett's men. Garrett's face went white. "This is a setup." "This is justice," Coleman corrected. "You're under arrest for land fraud, bribery, theft, and conspiracy. Your men can surrender peacefully or join you in federal prison." Their choice. For a moment, nobody moved. Then one of Garrett's men dropped his gun. Then another. Within seconds, all of them had surrendered. All except Garrett. He drew his pistol and fired at Adam in one smooth motion. Violet didn't think. She threw herself sideways, knocking Adam off the wagon. The bullet meant for his heart caught her in the shoulder instead. Pain exploded through her body. She hit the ground hard, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Adam's face appeared above her, white as paper. "Violet, Violet, stay with me." "I'm fine," she gasped, even though she wasn't. Blood was spreading across her dress, hot and dark. More gunshots. Then silence. Then Coleman's voice. "Garrett's down! Get a doctor, now!" The next hours blurred together. The doctor in town, digging the bullet out while Violet bit down on leather and tried not to scream. Adam holding her hands so tight she thought he'd break her fingers. The fever that came after, burning and shaking. She woke 3 days later in her own bed. Adam was asleep in the chair beside her, his head on the mattress, still holding her hand. "Adam," she whispered. He jerked awake. "You're awake. Thank God you're awake." "What happened?" "Garrett's dead. Shot himself rather than face trial. His men talked. Gave up everyone involved in the scheme. Judges, politicians, half the territorial government." Adam's voice was rough with exhaustion. "It's over, Violet. It's really over." "The ranch?" "Safe. More than safe. The federal government is returning all the stolen land to the rightful owners. including the 20 acres Garrett took from my parents. He lifted her hand to his lips. We won. We almost lost everything. But we didn't. Because you threw yourself in front of a bullet meant for me. His eyes were wet. Don't ever do that again. I can't promise that. Violet, you'd do the same for me. You know you would. He couldn't argue because it was true. Recovery took weeks. Violet's shoulder healed slowly, the scar a permanent reminder of what they'd survived. But she wore it with pride. Spring came early that year. The snow melted and revealed green grass beneath. Adam rebuilt the barn, bigger and better than before. Neighbors who'd once been too scared to help showed up with lumber and labor, repaying a debt they'd owed for years. The ranch flourished. With the returned acreage and the compensation from the federal government, Adam was able to buy more cattle, hire hands, expand operations. By summer, they were running the most successful ranch in the valley. But the real change was smaller, more personal. Adam smiled more, laughed easier, touched Violet like she was precious instead of temporary. And Violet stopped waiting for everything to fall apart, stopped expecting Adam to realize he'd made a mistake marrying her, stopped questioning whether she deserved happiness.
One evening in late July, they sat on the newly built porch, watching the sun set over land that was fully, legally, completely theirs. I've been thinking, Adam said. Dangerous habit, he smiled. I want to expand the house, add a nursery. Violet's heart jumped. A nursery? Unless you don't want, we never talked about. He was stumbling over his words, nervous in a way she rarely saw. I want children, Violet said, with you, as many as we can handle. The relief on his face made her laugh. I was terrified you'd say no, he admitted. Why would I say no to building a future with you? Because 6 months ago, you walked into a saloon, desperate and alone, and I offered you a marriage of convenience. I never asked what you actually wanted. I wanted safety, security, a place to belong. She took his hand. You gave me all that, but you also gave me something I wasn't looking for. What's that? Love. Real, honest, terrifying love. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You gave me a home, Adam, not just the ranch. You're my home. He kissed the top of her head. You're the bravest person I've ever met. You know that? I learned from watching you. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned from gold to purple to black. Stars emerged, bright and countless. Do you ever think about that night, Adam asked, when I proposed in the saloon? Every day. Do you regret it? Violet turned to look at him. Not for one single second. Do you? I regret that I made it about practicality instead of telling you the truth. What truth? That the moment you walked through that door, half frozen and completely fierce, something in me recognized something in you. Like I'd been waiting my whole life for you to show up. He touched her face. I told myself it was just convenience. Told myself I was being smart. But I think I knew even then that you were going to change everything. I did change everything. You saved everything. Saved me. Saved this ranch. Saved my soul. He pulled her close. I love you, Violet Xavier. I'll love you until the day I die, and probably long after that. That's a long time. Not long enough. 2 years later, their daughter was born. They named her Sarah Grace. Sarah for Adam's first wife, Grace for the second chance they'd both been given. 3 years after that, twin boys arrived, loud and wild and perfect. The ranch grew with their family. They hired more hands, built more buildings, expanded into horse breeding.
Violet managed the books with the same fierce precision she'd once used to negotiate her marriage contract. Neighboring ranchers who'd once feared Garrett now came to Adam and Violet for advice. The valley prospered under new leadership. Honest, fair, communal. 10 years after that night in the saloon, Adam and Violet stood in the same spot on their porch, watching their children play in the yard.
"Sometimes I can't believe this is real," Violet said, "that we built all this from nothing."
Not from nothing. From desperation and courage and stubborn refusal to give up. Adam wrapped his arm around her waist. From two broken people who decided to be broken together until they figured out how to be whole. We're whole now. Yeah, we are. Their oldest daughter ran up to the porch. "Mama, Papa, come see what we found." They followed her to the barn, where the twins had discovered a litter of barn kittens. "Can we keep them?" all three children asked in unison. Adam looked at Violet. Violet looked at Adam. They both started laughing. "Why not?" Adam said. "What's a few more mouths to feed?" That night, after the children were asleep and the ranch was quiet, Adam found Violet in their bedroom. "I never thought I'd have this," he said. "A full house, a thriving ranch, children, a wife who's also my best friend and my partner and my whole world."
"You deserve it all, Adam. So do you." He pulled her into his arms. "We deserve it. Together." And standing there in the life they'd built from desperation and determination, from a marriage born of necessity that had transformed into the deepest love either of them had ever known, Violet knew with absolute certainty that walking into that saloon, half-frozen and hopeless, had been the best decision she'd ever made, because it had led her here, to this man, to this family, to this beautiful, hard-won, perfectly imperfect life that was completely and utterly theirs.